We have a special guest with us this week on the FishDuck One-on-One. He was on the Oregon football team from 1991 through 1993, playing 2 seasons, and for a time he even held the school record for most receiving yards in a game. Also participating in the Oregon track team, he was a multi-talented athlete who remains closely tied to the program, having worked in the athletic department and also with ESPN, the Pape Group, and other successful business ventures. He's a board member of the University of Oregon Alumni Association, as well as an active member of the NAACP. And for a time, he was even the assistant track coach at Pleasant Hill High School. He's a family man, successful businessman, and a terrific athlete from Oregon's past, Derrick Deadwiler. Derrick Deadwiler, thank you for joining us on the FishDuck One-on-One.
No, thank you for having me aboard. I mean, I count it as a privilege anytime, to be able to honor former Ducks and be able to just kind of know who they are still. We're kind of on this whole journey right now, really remembering guys who we helped lay a groundwork of what we see today. So from that standpoint, thank you for having me aboard.
Let's first look back at how you ended up in Eugene, Oregon.
Okay.
You were from San Diego, and you were a junior college All-American. What was the path that led you in going to junior college and then deciding to pick Oregon among all the other schools that were looking at you?
Well, let's back up to even when I was in junior college, when I decided I was just going to run track and not play football anymore. And the coach kind of came to me and convinced me that I needed to try out for the football team and kind of give it a go again. So I step out onto the field and, not knowing what the expectation was and was going to be. I mean, I was a running back in high school. So this concept of me becoming a wide receiver in junior college was new to me. So I had to learn in all ways how to become a wide receiver. And with that, I just happened to have a pretty good freshman year, but I had a whole bunch of guys that were in front of me who went D1 to different colleges, from Utah to Washington State and so forth. And you look at that and you go, man, maybe this football thing may work out. So I kind of, from that, worked on getting myself more prepared, and I decided to run track at San Diego Mesa. Had a very, very successful freshman year in track and field, but what it really did was it prepared me for football going into that sophomore year. And in my sophomore year, with no expectations, I had to get letters from colleges from St. Mary's, from Hayward State, which is a small school at the time when they had football, Cal Poly, San Luis Obispo, these small schools. And I was thinking, okay, yeah, I'm going to go to those schools and get a nice education and just play a little football while I'm there. Lo and behold, I had a great sophomore year, broke records, ended up earning an All-American status, and then from the St. Mary's of the world, all of a sudden I'm being recruited by the UCLAs, the Oregons, the Arizona States, the Tennessee, all these large universities that you used to think about when you were a kid, but you really didn't think you had the ability to get to those places. All of a sudden, they all started calling and asking me about what my plans were and where I wanted to go from there.
Of all the different schools you were looking at, what was it that made you pick Oregon?
I was trying to choose between the final 3 schools that I was looking at was Oregon, Arizona State, and University of Pacific. And University of Pacific in Stockton, California was a very prestigious university, private school. Everybody knows it because Chargers owner was a major benefactor on that campus and so forth. And I had friends who went to that school, and my dad wanted me to go to the school because of the business school that they had there. Arizona State was a great school in terms of visiting. But what got me was 2 other gentlemen, one by the name of Lou Barnes, which you probably remember that name, and I got another guy named Clifford Hicks.
I remember Clifford Hicks too.
Okay,
played in the NFL for years.
Both of those, well, I've known Clifford Hicks since I was a child. He went to school with my sister and all these things. So the minute I was trying to pick schools, I got a phone call from both of those guys telling me I needed to go to Oregon. And so I had to take that in consideration as far as an option. And, and then when I came on my recruiting trip, I just had an absolute blast. My recruiter, the guy who hosted me was a guy named Anthony Jones. And, he'll tell you the story, but he didn't really want to host me because he was like, why would I want to host a guy who may potentially be taking my starting position?
Having grown up in San Diego and going to junior college in San Diego, how much of an adjustment was it from the pristine, perfect weather and beaches down there compared to rainy Eugene? How long did it take you to adjust to campus life and life in Eugene, Oregon?
Well, I never adjusted. You just had to learn to live with it. And one thing that got me though was when I got up to Oregon, was the water. It was just really good. You know, you think about water when it comes from a faucet or a tap water, you have this whole mindset of, man, it doesn't have any flavor. When I got to Oregon, I was like, man, this doesn't taste like chlorine. It doesn't taste like the salt rocks. I mean, what's going on here? So it was something about Oregon and the green and being in what I call, at the time, a college town where everything was kind of surrounded around what U of O was doing on a weekly basis. Business environment, everything, you know, I know that now, but everything here was about college life. And so I looked at that as saying, man, this is a great place. And so I adjusted to it very well. I enjoyed being in the green. I enjoyed the rain a little bit. But a
little bit.
I just enjoyed the environment. And, you know, I had good friends here immediately. So
you also played during kind of what I like to think of as the growing pains years. People sometimes think of them as the forgotten years because, you know, everyone looks at, you know, the history of Oregon. They go, oh, well, you know, the Bill Musgrave era, 1989, 1990. And then we skip over a time, and then there's 1994.
Yeah, they forget about the growing pains when the joints are coming into place and everything's kind of, you know, we have all that talent that basically started to come in.
Right.
And it was the Alex Moldens, it was the Herman O'Berrys, the Salila Malapai, you know, all these guys, even Danny O'Neill, you know, you had all these guys that came in and were maturing, but they were learning. And so I was one of those junior college guys that came in, you know, being an All-American in junior college, coming in and trying to be able to work in that same kind of system. So we had all that talent in the world. But we just, for some reason, we just couldn't put it together on the field.
You played, I believe, 9 games in the 1992 season. Well, how was that for your first playing experience? Actually getting out there and being able to be a part of the team, participate, be an active member of the offense?
Well, you know, what was interesting was that, you know, I was leading the team in receptions that year, you know, and I really believe I was having a great year. My first game ever playing against the University of Hawaii that we lost, I had 8 catches for 108 yards that first game I ever played. And I was exciting. And I had a rushing touchdown that game. So it was an exciting year. It was fun. The Frozen Tundra of Washington State. And I remember that game to this day because Washington State was they were very high. Drew Bledsoe was doing very well. And we came in there and we whooped them. But I broke my collarbone that game. And right going into that game is when everything shifted for me as far as my mindset and how I looked at the game and where I was. And I ended up, from that, happened to meet my my current and only wife I have, which is over the last 18 years. We got to spend time together because of a broken collarbone.
So then 1993 season comes along, and now you essentially doubled what you had done the previous year. It was a tremendous season for you. 58 catches, 800-something yards, 5 touchdowns. And the teams, it looked like there was a build. There was a progression. Like this year was going to build into something really great. The team started off 3-0, and then came the Cal game. And
Cal game.
That game, Oregon led 30-0 at halftime. Cal was ranked number 17 in the country. You'd had a couple of great catches. You had a 80-yard catch in the game and a 40-something yard touchdown as well. What happened? Because
you know, there's a lot of theories behind what happened in that game. You know, whether we were kind of going with too much confidence into halftime, thinking that we had it all controlled and just need to show up the second half and the game was ours. Who knows? I do know this, is that, you know, we blew that game. It was a big one. We had a great opportunity, and quite frankly, they won it. They did. Everybody talks about that 80-yard play that I had, but if you look on YouTube, Cal has it down as the drive that they stopped, you know, and I caught the ball, got caught from behind, and everybody reminds me that I got caught from behind. I
didn't want to bring it up, but if you had gone another yard or two, it would have been a touchdown. They wouldn't have stopped us on 4th and goal.
No, and I always remind everybody, don't look back. You know, hindsight's 20/20, isn't it?
Yeah.
But you know, I get caught, and they hold us, and of course they call it the drive. And it turned their season around and so forth. But even then, we still had ample time to be able to win the game. I mean, I broke the record that game. You know, we had 11 catches, 236 yards. It was a great game. We had everything going for us, and I really believe it would have set us up for the rest of the season. But like anything else, after we lost that game, and truth be known, it really hurt us. It hurt us so much so that I didn't think we could ever rebound from it. I mean, we were good enough to beat average teams, and we did. We beat average teams. But when it came to going against teams like USC, when it came going against Stanford, and when it came to going against who's the other one? University of Washington, which were the biggest, most critical that we needed in order to get ourselves bowl eligible, we lost those games. And to top it all off was the major one when we lost the Civil War. That hurt. That really hurt, because that means 2 out of the 3 years that I was at Oregon, I lost to Oregon State. Not a good topic.
Yeah.
Topic.
And unfortunately, that loss was a double whammy, because that, even though the team had started off 3-0, that left Oregon as 5-6 on the season and not bowl eligible.
And I never got a ring.
Now, I remember watching you play, and what always stuck out to me was the versatility of you on a football field. You were one of those do-everything guys. You returned kicks, you returned punts, you were the receiver that they could send over the middle and crossing routes, you were the guy that could go deep, and you were the guy that they'd run reverses on.
Right.
Where did all of that versatility come in of being the do-everything weapon for the Oregon Ducks?
Well, yeah, I remember in high school, basically most of my Pop Warner in high school, I was a running back. So when I got to college is when I had to actually learn how to become a wide receiver. So knowing how to be able to run in between, we'll call in between the tackles, and running in narrow space, I already knew how to do that. And I think I was pretty good. I was pretty fleet of foot. You know, I could angle in and angle out. Being able to have all those, I think it was necessary. It was funny too, because I don't know if Coach Campbell will ever tell you this story, but we had during fall camp in my senior year, Ricky Whittle was hurt, Sean Burwell was hurt, and Dino was kind of had some lingering injuries. So guess who they said, okay, we need a running back for fall camp. Guess who they decided? Let's put Derrick in there. So for fall camp, I got to be able to play running back. So I was like the 4th-string running back. And then for a while, they were going to implement some plays that were there for me to be able to run from a R-back position where we kind of deceived the defense, thinking that they was going to motion out of that and kept it as running play. So that's where it comes from, because I by nature, I'm a running back. By weight, though, I was 164 pounds. That's not going to work in the Pac-10.
And you do stay closely tied in, being a board member with the Oregon Alumni Association. What are you doing these days? I know the Deadwiler family has expanded a little bit, and is there a potential for any future Deadwiler Ducks coming down the line?
Well, you know, it's funny. I thought my son was going to have a shot, but he's playing. He's got full ride. He's playing at Humboldt State University up there in Arcata, California. He's playing wide receiver. He's wearing number 8. Hey, you can't complain about that.
Terrific.
So he's doing very well. My daughter, who's a junior in high school right now, has aspirations to be able to run track and go to Oregon. But they all want to. The one thing that has been most critical is the fact that my family, they love Oregon. They love U of O. And they're thinking about it. So that's where I like that from that standpoint. What else am I involved with? I'm all over the place. I'm the board of directors for a nonprofit down here in San Jose, working with at-risk youth. I stay actively involved with my church down here, which is pretty large, of about 10,000 members. And wow. And I finished teaching a class this morning to about 75 students on foundational training. So, to say that I'm not involved, I am still highly active. I'm probably doing more now than I ever did before. Physical goals, I'm trying to get ready for Tough Mudder this year. That's going to be my goal. And man, I'm enjoying life. That's all I can say, Kurt.
Terrific. Well, any final thoughts that you want to give to the Oregon fans who still remember you from your days at Hayward and Autzen Stadium?
I just want to say thank you. I just want to say thank you that, people still remember me. It kind of helps with my kids. They, oh, Dad, you did really play a sport. Yes, I did play a sport. But I want to say thank you to the fans who continue to support U of O. Remember, it's about these kids. The coaches, they do what they got to do on the field. But these young men who are leading it on the field every day, they will become men. They will become fathers, they will become brothers, they will become part of that fraternity, and just continue to have faith that the program's going to continue to go in the right direction.
Terrific. Derrick Deadwiler, thank you for being a Duck, and thank you for joining us for the FishDuck One-on-One.
Kurt, I hope I helped, man. I greatly appreciate you giving me an opportunity to be on here with you.